Good morning, everybody. How are we today? Last day. I know energy levels are low, so I hope we wake up a little bit, full of energy, full of organic energy. I hope you had your coffee, your tea, your water, all the healthy stuff. And okay, so we are coming to an end today. That is our last day, and I hope we will get a very nice sessions to leave Korea very inspired and ready to bring the change we want to see. So for that, I would like to first start the day by inviting Cici to give us some inspirational words on how to take this forward. So please clap for Cici. Woohoo!
I need this. Okay, just a moment. Good morning. I cannot see you. Good. This is good. Okay. It's my honor to be here to say something about myself and my feelings. And probably you don't know that I was born in the city. I was totally a city boy for 17 years before high school, and then I went to Nanjing for my university life. 5 years late, I was majoring actually not agriculture but in physical geography. Yeah. So in the university, 3 years later, Cultural Revolutions started. The Cultural Revolution lasted for 10 years. So actually, I was in university, studied 3 years, and plus a little bit more, a little bit less than 4 years. Then in 1968, I was sent by the government to a geological prospective team as a driller, so-called re-education, re-educated by the farmers, workers, and soldiers. So I was re-educated by the workers. But fortunately, everything has its two sides. You know, Cultural Revolution is a bad thing. But to send me to the rural area to work there for 12 years, I was living in rural area, even stayed in farmers' houses. So that is why I have the basis. I have the knowledge about the rural area, about the farmers, and I got very close to the farmers. You can see I'm with this tie, with this suit here. But when I'm with the farmers, we have no gap. You know, I have one advantage is that I can speak more than 15 local dialects. So when I was doing inspections, it was enjoyable because I can talk with them in local dialects. So they feel you are closer. Yeah. But you know, in China, we have hundreds of dialects. And in 1980, I changed my job from a geological prospecting team to a research institute called the Environmental Science Research Institute. So that is in the city. But fortunately, our institute is major in rural environmental protection. And so I was involved in eco-agriculture. That's very early stage of Chinese eco-agriculture. Our pilot studies won the United Nations Environmental Program's World 500 Rule of Environment Protection, the awards. And in 1989, our organization joined IFOAM. That is the first organic IFOAM member in China. So OFDC got the award, recognition award this time. I'm very happy, and I informed them, you got that. They are so happy. And then the in 1995, I became the first organic inspector, but not for Chinese inspection bodies, certification bodies, but for OCIA, for US. So that later on, then we started our own certification. And I was one of the chief drafters of Chinese national organic standards and regulations. And in 2005, just 1 year before my retirement, I joined the IFOAM Development Committee. It lasted only for 1 year. But that was my earliest involvement in IFOAM. And then in the next day, I retired. I became the IFOAM representative to China. And then several years, about 2 or 3 years later, I became the IFOAM representative to Asia. In 2013, IFOAM Asia established. It was prepared in 2012. Then in 2013, because I was elected as the vice president of IFOAM Asia, so I told IFOAM that you don't need any more representative to China and Asia because we have IFOAM Asia now. So now, and then Marcos and they, the World Board decided to create a new title called IFOAM Ambassador. So I was actually the first IFOAM ambassador in 2013. Then next year in Istanbul, there were dozens, more than 1 dozen of ambassadors. So I feel very honored of that. Till now, I'm still the IFOAM ambassador. And then in 2015, I became the president of IFOAM Asia for 3 terms until 2021, and last year. So I think for me, as a Chinese person, worked for the Government Research Institute, actually my brightest life period is after my retirement. So I got much more freer to join international activities. So I think this conference, this event, the theme is to shaping the future we want. Organic for a better world. So I think this is very good for celebrating the 50 years of IFOAM Organics International. I think the future is for our next generations. We are laying our very firm foundation for our next generations. I'm so happy that we have already worked with our next generations for years. Yeah, we have we are in Bob. We were born in 1940s. And then we have 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and the 90s. Even now, the 2000. Yeah, so we have almost 3 or 4 generations work together for our future. This is so good. And I just have 10 minutes, so I will finish my speech like that. One day we had one picture with Dr. Yadav from India, Mr. Katsu from Japan, and Mr. Boyat from the Philippines, and me. 4 of us, we got one picture together. Occasionally, China had the conflict with the 3 countries. Yeah, so I said, let's take a picture together. We are only for organic. Let the governments to deal with the board and the islands problems. It's not our business. Okay, so I think, and yesterday I introduced Bob. Bob is from the United States. Bob and me, we are so good friends. So Bob just told me and invited me again to visit Montana. I said next time I'm in Pittsburgh, I will ask my son-in-law to drive the whole family to visit Bob. So this is, I think, yes, there are fightings, conflicts, but organic family. We don't have conflicts. We have only one aim, organic, mainstreaming of organic in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sisi. Please stay here because we will still want to hear more from you. So again, please clap for Dr. Zejiang, Honorary President of IFOAM Asia, IFOAM Organics International Ambassador. And this session is about how to bring change, how to make change happen. And I think here we have an example of how change was possible in Asia. He really, truly, please take a seat. It doesn't bite. So for this session, we have 6 speakers, and to make it more dynamic, we have divided the session into 2. I will be moderating the first part, and then Pablo will join and will moderate the second part. So I'm honored to invite as well Dr. Hardy Folkman, Honorary President of IFOAM Organics International. Please, claps, come on, where's the, let's wake up. And I would love to invite as well Fortunate, please, IFOAM World Board member and president of IFOAM, the IFOAM Southern African Network. So, as we don't have much time and we started late, but we have been quite efficient this conference. We have been always finishing before schedule. So the idea is to understand a little bit practical experiences of how you saw change happening in your sector, in your line of work, and then reflect on the learnings of that experience to then go how we can take those learnings and upscale change. So we get all inspired, and then we have little tips to go back home and implement change, because now is the time to bring change. Actually, yesterday, as I keep on saying. So I would like to start first with Hardy. I think we already heard a lot from the first day. You brought some of the change experiences, how you created, you managed to organize all these crazy people around the world into one IFOAM, also the research, etc. So maybe you can enlighten us.
Very welcome. Good morning, everybody. Well, the first statement I have to make is change is not coming by asking permission. Change is coming by doing things differently. And then sticking to your principles. That started, I'm just going back to when I started Feeble. As I told you before, my good friend said, Hardy, we thought you were a serious scientist, and now you're doing this mug and magic stuff. But then, as you see, sticking to your principles, we achieved a lot in Switzerland, and now we have Feeble as one big research station. But the real breakthrough I saw was when I entered into the conventional academic world of universities. That was the real breakthrough, I think, because at that time there was no full professor at any university on the topic of organic agriculture. And that was also very important to realize that only when you stick to your principles, then you can achieve something. Because I had too many offers from industrial companies, well, why don't you join us, all this being inclusive. I think we have only to be inclusive as long as they stick to our principles. So we should avoid using the terms of agroecology when they're using herbicides and climate change when they're only looking for carbon. As long as they meet our principles, nothing to say inclusive, otherwise we better don't say all inclusive all the time. And that was a very good experience, because then suddenly companies came that were involved in organic food production and said, hey, you are our first professor, make sure that what we sell as, at that time, that was 1980, 81, 82, they came and said, make sure that we are really selling organic product. Go with your team, and Bernward was one of the team, and check that the products we are getting as organic are real organic. So the companies had the incentive to make sure that the consumers got the right product. And that was only due when we always said we stick to our principles and we don't bend, we don't do anything else. And it was very important for my students, and that is the last point to that experience. All my colleagues had one PhD after the other, using one herbicide A, same experimental outline using herbicide B, same experimental outline using herbicide C, or the fertilizer. And I said, that is not worth being a PhD. I had to ask my students, hey, listen, watch what is happening. See how ecologically functions. And we only interfere at points where we can improve things, but not replacing. And our whole research was replacing biological processes instead of improving biological processes. But unfortunately, you make a lot of money by replacing biological processes, and you make very little by that. And that is something, when I started, what I had to learn. You see, I started feeble. There was no real research in that field. I had to go to the farmers who had developed organic farming. They had the knowledge. So it took me 2 or 3 years to understand what the farmer were doing, why they were doing it, and then bring some knowledge from science into it and combine it and improve the system. And that's the way we have to do it. And that's what I think is a very, very important. So my plea is stick to our principles and allow within the principles a diversity.
Thank you, Hardy. Yeah. And I think, yes, going back to those principles, never forget them. Cici, you were just talking about the diversity within China. So many languages, different cultures within only one country. And to get those people together and create change among that differences is already a challenge. But you already did it for the whole of Asia, with even more cultures, more countries. So maybe you can tell us a little bit how a good success story of change, and what was your learning behind that?
It's a little bit difficult to answer this question. You know, we were just doing, but less thought, less thinking. You know. But anyway, I have witnessed the big changes. You know, because in 2001, the former IFOAM Asia dissolved, and I was so sad because dissolved after the Korean conference. We had the IFOAM Asia conference in Korea, and then that was not so good. So finally, the head office decided to dissolve it. but 10 years later, we got it again, and now we are quite successful. So I'm very proud. I'm very happy that I think one trick is that the organic families, we need to be like a family. I'm very happy that the IFOAM Asia members, we are just like one family. And of course, we're lucky we have Jennifer as the executive director for more than 10 years. And also we have very active members, very enthusiastic local governments even. Yeah. So even, for example, in Mindanao, in Bislik City, quite a few of here people were attending that Congress. And people all know that in Mindanao, the situation was a little risky. Yeah, even something happened during our conference. But we still insisted that we should promote organic in that area. The less developed, the more risky areas, we needed to promote organic even more. So this is what we think. And also, Asia, we have developed countries and developing countries. How to get people together with different backgrounds. And I think that we have done quite good on that. So I think the changes we have witnessed and we have contributed to make the change. And just like yesterday, I said that Jennifer and I, we attended the European IFOAM EU conference. We have seen the difference between Europe and Asia. So I think we still need to go further to make more changes, to make organic marketing in Asia is prosperous. So I think that's the final purpose, is that, of course, the final purpose is to make the change of the world to be ecologically sustainable, but we need to develop this sector, the organic movement, to make it's possible for the sustainability of the world, the ecology. Yeah.
Thank you, Cici. So I'm starting to see, stick to your principles, stick together, not let it break it down. So there we are starting to build some ground to create change. Fortunate, would you want to share some thoughts?
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I will start from the national level. It has been quite a journey, but and so much happened, and it was quite disjointed. But the aha moment is when we started, we thought that we should tackle the question, why is it that the organic sector is not growing after so many years? So we brought in stakeholders together in one room, the farmer support organizations, the government, the academia, the researchers, even the business, to tackle this question. And first of all, it was quite amazing, just the introduction of the stakeholders to say, I'm so and so, we are from this institution, and this is what we are doing. It was such a discovery for all the stakeholders to say, by the way, we didn't even know that there were so many people who are doing different things, and good things for that matter. And at that moment, people started networking. Let me just say that this process took us a total of 6 months, where people were just meeting once a month. And it was actually one of the days that people in the organic sector were looking forward to for those 6 months. And then we looked at the challenges. And what we then realized was that there is, in the organic sector, we need each other. It cannot be a one-man show. It cannot be a one-organization show. We need each other. Farmers need research, and the extension services need the research results to translate them into extension messages so that they can give them to the farmers. And we also realized that there's quite a lot of information that is lying there that is being unused, yet the farmers need the information. We also realized that the consumers are out there, they also need the products, but there is no link between the producers and the consumers. So in a nutshell, we managed to develop the first national strategy, and it was developed with the contribution of everyone. And this is a strategy that is out there to be used by everybody in the nation. And we have actually seen quite a lot of move by the government to embrace. And in as much as sometimes there is no monetary contribution, we have seen that the actions have changed. And there have been some embracing of one another and making things easier. And out of that was born also some discussions. We used to then run some stakeholder discussions once a month, which would actually bring so much fruitful insights that people would take home and use. And then now we are trying to do the same for the region, where now, after having launched the magazine where people are contributing, we are also now, the next step is to do mapping of the stakeholders, who is who and who is doing what and where is who, and then see how can you bring value to each other's work through networking.
Thank you, Fortunate. Yes, bringing everybody to the table, and discuss. Because sometimes we were talking this week how we keep on talking among ourselves, and also within that, we keep on talking among the subgroups of ourselves. So we need to first talk, and then we go to the outside. Thank you. So now I have stick to your principles, stick together, gather all the stakeholders, work together. I think we have a nice ingredients for a good recipe to change. So how we take all these experiences to create the global, systemic, holistic change we need? What a question. I know, not easy peasy, but it's needed. We need it. We have the courage. We have the boldness. How we make it happen? Hardy, I see you smiling.
Yeah, I think we should not forget that we have a big obstacle to overcome, and that's the present model of linear growth in economy that doesn't fit to organic at all. So we have a paradigm shift there to work on, and we need actually a transformation of society as a whole. And I see IFOAM taking this role. As I said, we need a new enlightenment for that. And that is very important. And I feel that even within our talks about marketing and market, we are still sticking to that paradigm of linear economic growth, unfortunately. So we have to make sure that we leave this route, otherwise we cannot manage it. And secondly, we have to empower the small farmers that are still producing 80% of the food in this world to make it stronger. And the third point to me is this male-dominated world has us gotten into the mess. So we have to empower women really, and maybe only women can get us out of this mess, what we have done so far.
Is it time for women leadership, huh? Fortunate, you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. What I see that what we need is an enabling environment. And that enabling environment needs policies. But to me, a policy is not good enough if it is just a policy that is just left there but not being implemented. We just need an enabling environment. How can we have an enabling environment? I think we need the policymakers to our side. And how do we get them to our side? We need a lot of information, we need a lot of knowledge out there so that they can make some informed decisions. I've also noticed in my journey that sometimes they are not on our side, not because they want, but the only information that they know is from the other side. So we really need to make sure that they do have information everywhere along the value chain. Let there be information and adequate information about organic agriculture. I really like, and I would really want to commend IFOAM Asia for the whole of information that they've put up there. It is quite important that we have such amount of information given along the value chain so that we have an enabling environment.
Thank you, Fortunate. So democratize information, make it available for all, doesn't matter where you are, who you are, etc. Cici.
What I'm thinking that for so many years, after 33 years involved in organic, so far, in my experience in China and actually in Asia, I think of course, a lot of products are exported to developed countries, produced here, exported. But also, I think this is, organic movement is not just for the people, affordable for the price of organic products. Our aim is the mainstreaming of organic agriculture in the world to make our final aim is 100% organic. And if we want to reach 100% organic, we must let our sector, organic agriculture, to be popularized, organic products to be affordable for all the people, not only for the people in high income. And for example, in China, now we are promoting PGS, CSAs. Very hard, because the government so far hasn't recognized this. But at least we have made progress. When we had the national CSA, PGS Congress, the government authorities sent their representatives to join us. This is a progress. We are happy to see that. And only when the PGS, CSA are popularized, then the world organic mainstreaming would be realistic. So I think what we need to do in the future, do more, not only emphasizing on third-party certification, only on city markets, but also on the, doesn't matter whether it's certified or not, as long as it's organic. It's good for people's health, but also, very importantly, good for the environment, for the ecosystem. for the sustainability. That's it.
Thank you, Cici. And I think it goes directly hand by hand with what Hardy said. Don't follow the conventional live stream of linear economy, making profit. This is about organic for all, feeding the people with good, healthy food and taking care of our beautiful planet. Thank you very much to the three. So now we have some minutes left for some closing statements. I would like to start with Fortunate. One key message you want to convey.
The key message that I do have is that you cannot do it alone. We need to work together. We need to collaborate. We need to take advantage of low-hanging fruits within our communities, within our networks, and make sure that we can, through that, we can push organic movement forward one step at a time.
Thank you. Cici, some last words?
Keep organic as a family. So no matter there will be, definitely there will be difficulties, obstacles, but we work together as a family. I believe the future is ours.
Stay together, don't give up, and my honor to present the wise words of Hardy to close this panel.
Yeah, since I always see the problem that at the end of the day we might end up with the organic Nestles and the organic Coca-Colas of the world, and we still haven't won anything. So I think we have to reconsider local and regional marketing, coming together, sharing, eye-to-eye level. And I think I found a very good statement from Sir Albert Howard, which he did in 1942, the year I was born. And I think that applies even today as much as it did at that time. The farmers of the West are repeating the mistakes made by the imperial Rome. Money, profit, the accumulation of capital and luxury became the objectives of land owning and not the great virtues of the soil and the farmers of a few acres. That's my last statement.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please, what a wonderful panel. I think now we are fully woke up. We are full of energy, and I would like to invite Bablu to take care of the next panel. Thank you again very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Julia. I will not be able to deal with the panel so informally as Julia was able to do. So I have a different way of doing things. So let me invite my panelists, Marianne Blom. Please come. So Marianne was born in the Netherlands. She grew up in the countryside. She studied taxation, economics at Groningen University, and then completed the master's course in organic agriculture at Wageningen University. After that, she joined the Dutch organization, organic organization Biologica, and then BioNext. She has been working at the national level for the organic sector for more than 16 years. Her priority issues are organic regulations and knowledge development for the organic sector. And most importantly, she is also the IFOAM Organic Europe Vice President since 2018. Next, I'd like to please introduce Miyoshi Satoko from Japan. Miyoshi from Japan is a member of IFOAM World Board and Algoa Ambassador. She lives in Kizarazu City and has persuaded the powers that be to declare it as an organic city, which is a great achievement. She now works with the local governments to promote organic lifestyle, and recently Miyoshi was involved in the establishment of the Organic Congress of Japan, the national organic movement platform in Japan. Next, may I invite Bernard Gaia. How does one introduce Bernard? Bernward, a lifelong peace activist, also ED of IFOAM for 18 years, is currently the director of Collabora, Let's Work Together. He has been active in the field of agriculture and environmental politics for the past 40 years. He is a very multidisciplinary profile and has worked and traveled to over 90 countries. His work with Rapunzel and IFOAM in organizing the One World Award is known to everybody, as well as his work with Greenpeace and Slow Food. He's also a filmmaker, author, and editor of multiple books and films. This is my panelists. A round of applause. So, like the last group, you also have the same topic, which is how to change the world. Yeah, very important, very difficult, but there you are, because you are one of some of our very experienced people in IFOAM. So now the way I will do this is that each one of you will have 5 minutes in the first round. Now 5 minutes can be very short, can be very long. It depends on you. But I would like to put the question like this, that you share, you will recognize that they are all from different sectors. Yeah, that's how they have been selected. And therefore, from your sector, what kind of an experience that you have actually seen, that you saw change was happening. Now, if you can use that and explain to us what was your takeaway from that, and how do you want to bring change in your sector. If you can use your first 5 minutes in trying to talk about that, it'll be great. So, who would like to go first? Okay, Miyoshi.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I've been here for many times, so I'm familiar with this place. So I'm from Japan, near from here. And my sector, I consider I am an activist, social activist. And organic is more like my focus and tool and something I believe in. And I see some changes through last few decades of my life. One is bigger changes. It's not necessarily related to what I have done or what we have done. But big changes is really coming in good way and bad way. For example, now people are talking about, we question about our lifestyle. Capitalism will no longer exist, or no longer we can something dependent on, and which we agree. But people are struggling because that's something we have been practicing, or that's the norm of everybody. And the climate crisis is coming, obviously. And those people with wisdom, they already knew in maybe 40, 50 years ago, they already knew this is happening. But majority of people didn't know, or they're aware, or didn't listen. But the change is happening now. But at the same time, for example, my country and Korea, men dominated. And maybe not only my country, but it's very slowly, it's happening. And I see that's not only men and women, but I think it's how we structure our society. It's not monoculture, but more based on diversity, not only biodiversity, but the living diversity with people. I see the innovation is happening only from the space where the gap, we have the gap, each of us have differences, and that's the space where innovation is happening, change is happening, that I see it. And from my experience of, so for example, I pursued my city to declare organic city, and it's still in the process, but I see last 5 years, a lot changed. But when I started, I didn't expect it that much. And when they declare, they made a bylaw, I didn't see it. But I see little changes, and it's getting piled. And now I see more people are changed. More people are changing. But still, some people expect, it's a whole city, and not only agriculture, but lifestyle and how people work and everything. And yeah, like last week, some people are like, organic is from, English words that I don't even understand. A lot of people still say that. So it takes time. But my point, when I talk to those people, people from, I would say, another sector, for example, people from government, people from the big company, they speak their language. We speak Japanese, but they speak their language, which their norm. We're not only people who are staying in, the comfortable zone. They do also. And I try to be neutral. When you drive the Swift car, you put in that neutral, and you can stop, but you cannot accelerate. I try to be, it's very difficult, but I try to be neutral. And I try to speak their language. I try to understand what their way of doing it, way of thinking, what's their priority, how they built their community, even big company, even people from bureaucracy. That's how I see how we can interact and how we can make change.
Wonderful. Very clear. Thank you very much. Marianne, would you like to go in next and give us a really good classical example also?
I don't. Thank you. Thank you. A classical example, I don't know.
Well, and important and nice.
And important. Okay, I'll start with my takeaway message, which is you cannot change the world for the better if you're not able to change yourself for the better. And you cannot make the world a better place if you are one of the problems. And I will illustrate it with an example from my organization. And it's a small, I feel a bit humble coming after Hardy Volkman and Zizi having these great examples and changing whole regions and really pioneering. And I'm from the Netherlands, which is 400 by 200 kilometers. It's small, but we can fight a lot among each other. And we have had an organic organization for many years, Biologica. It was a nice organization, quite an activist organization, and we thought we were working for the whole organic sector. And we had a board with some scientists, with some farmers, with some operators, with some companies, but most of our money came from the government. And when the money from the government stopped, we almost went broke. And we were amazed, how could this happen? Because we were the voice of the Dutch organic sector, had been for 20 years. And then we started restructuring. Actually, there were some of us, actually it was the secretary of the Association for Organic Companies and Traders, who said, we're not going to let this happen, we need one voice. And what he did was, he brought the different sectors together. It was the former director of Bionext, Babel van der Neetzert. And he put a lot of energy in getting a farmers association, an organic farmers association founded. They were there, but also sort of vague. He got the processors and the traders sort of geared up. He helped the retail, the organic retail, to set up their own association. So we have 3 membership-based organizations. And we created this umbrella, Bionext. And this umbrella is able to sort of unite these 3 voices. And we still fight among each other quite a lot, because everybody has its own interests. But we are able to come up with a united voice against our Dutch minister, our ministry. And it has helped us in the past years a lot. Of course, this process took some time, and during that time, also the ministry was not very favorable towards organic. We did not have a research policy, we did not have an action plan. Organic was one of the sustainable initiatives, so we would have to fight for the money with the other sustainable initiatives. But what we see now happening is that, actually also because of the Organic Action Plan from Europe, but the Dutch government is getting interested in organic again. Also because of the carbon crisis we have, of the nitrogen crisis we have in our country. I mean, we're really good at producing a lot of products and making our own country only uglier and dirtier with it. And because we have so many people in such a small environment, it creates huge problems. And within these huge problems, organic is seen as one of the solutions. And because we are able to come up with one action plan as the whole sector, as the whole value chain, the ministry listens to us. And we see them taking over plans, ideas. We have put in their heads, and we are in a real open discussion with them. We also have to understand the pressure they are in, because agro-industry is losing ground. So, like Miyoshi said, we have to learn to speak their language, and not only think about, okay, we are organic and that's it. And I think one of the last successes that came from this getting our act together and operating as one is that we also work in quite good contact with the Conventional Farmers Organization. And only 2 weeks ago, there was a big interview. No, actually, it was last Saturday. There was a big interview of the chairman of the Conventional Farmers Organization saying, yes, I think we have to change our model. We have to become more extensive production. Imagine that from a country, from the Netherlands. And we see some good examples. We're in close cooperation with Bionext. Like I said, whoa, we're getting somewhere. But it's, I think, even with all the differences, trying to get together and having this one voice, being able to look at ourselves and overcome our fighting, made the change. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Marianne. So now we go in this panel, the senior most person, to give his spiel on his particular experience and what his takeaway was from that.
Yeah, thank you, Pablo. Actually, I struggle with the question because I cannot put in a drawer or in a bag. I don't have a sector. I'm a generalist. I'm confessing generalist, and I'm engaged in so many things, and this is my life. So, but I try to be obedient to the question. And you mentioned that I'm a filmmaker and a writer, but I'm also a father of 4 and a grandfather of so far 4. On the first, I will stay with 4 kids, but the grandkids, I hope more will come.
Bob, so he's going to take over.
Yeah, well, I take Bob as a challenge. Yeah, I take it. No, but it's, I have 2 stories. I thought about 2 stories. I tried to make them short. You all know me. I'm a passionate storyteller also. The one is directly IFOAM related. When we decided to move from Tolai to Bonn, we looked for a place. It happened that I'm kind of a co-founder of the Green Party. I had a friendship relationship to the minister. I went to Renate and said, listen, we want to go to Bonn, help us, because there was a big program to attract international organizations. He said, yes, but you're already in Germany. What can I argue to bring you to Bonn? I said, no, you want to keep us in Germany? Do something. She set up a meeting with the vice minister. It took 1 dinner. It was not an organic dinner, but a good organic wine. And the deal was brokered that IFOAM has for 25 years office space, rent-free, and it is still 5 years to go. I think this was the biggest financial acquisition ever happened, if you calculate it in money terms. And it was just the connections, the network, the friendship, of course, and a good line of arguments. Another great moment in my life, more looking back, because when this happened, I did not realize at all what this could trigger off. I was called up by a woman from GEPA, it's the big fair trade company in Germany, and said, hey, listen, Bernhard, we want to go organic. I said, what? Fair trade? You should be organic. It's time. There was no organic product at this time. We talk about the late 80s. I said, of course I will help you. He said, yes, but we need a certifier. Can you help us? So I went around checking to find a certifier. Bioland said, oh no, we are a German organization, we stay a German organization, this is all Global South products, we don't want. Finally, I met with Richard Stohas from Naturland, they celebrated 2 weeks ago 40 years. An organization said, that's interesting, I may look at it, because they wanted, as a pilot project, to convert a big tea garden in Sri Lanka. They knew we cannot start with small farmers, too complicated. And so I connected them. I was a matchmaker. I said, okay, here, Richard, there's an opportunity for you. Naturland was at this time more or less, I would say, a local Bavarian farmer group. And this partnership that developed led to the fact that now, when Naturland celebrates 40 years, it has become the biggest, and I would say we can be proud, it's one of our best organic farmer organizations. They have almost 150,000 farmers, almost all of them in comparison, are in the Global South. And they have a huge impacting role, and of course they are a very strong ally of IFOAM, even giving Marco the opportunity now to help out in this crisis situation. So all this came from little matchmaking. So I could plant a seed, I didn't fertilize, I didn't nourish. That happened then on its own, it got its own dynamic. So my learning out of these two examples is, it takes very little. It takes a seed, and you may see a tremendous impact. In a way, this is what IFOAM has been, when we learned from Hardy yesterday, how little we started, with no money, everybody putting a few coins on the table, and look what came out of it. So let's take this, and let's remember this to motivate us to go now for the real big jump, because I think the world is ready, and we better are ready too.
Wow. He managed to finish in less than 4 minutes.
Well,
and he gave 2 stories. Now, I'm impressed.
The point is you have to speak fast.
Yeah.
I hope I was.
No, you
fast.
spoke
very
well, very well. Thank you. No, it's great, because then it gives us a little more opportunity to have further. Now, I'll come back to you, Miyoshi, on these particular experiences that you talked about in your work in Japan. From that, how can you tell us, how do we impact at the global level? How do we make this whole thing, use it at the global level for our work in organic?
Yes, although it's global, I believe in person. I know I cannot do anything by myself and nobody else, but I still believe in a person make big impact. And it likely people sometimes ignore. People always say like, oh, I cannot do it by myself, or has no confidence to change the world by themselves alone. But the negative impact one person gave, it's big, actually. I consider people drive a car, yeah? People, you know, I'm not perfect, actually. I'm not perfectly sustainable life in Japan. By living in Japan, I think I'm giving negative impact alone. Even it's less compared to other people, I think I do. I fly, you know, I take the flight here. So I always come back to person and know, just do start from something small. Like I talk to my friends, my mama friends, you know, they don't know nothing about anything, or they don't really care, but they do care their children. And I talk to something like, if you know what you eat, that's eventually empowers you. If you know what your child is eating, that's eventually gives you confidence. They are healthy, they are related. And that's something I think it's most power, like powerful. And anything I do, I try to think, is this empowering this person? You know, it's this not against this person's dignity. That's I really care. And that's kind of, sometimes it's become a big organization, like, you know, the IFOAM becoming big organization. But still, we have to care how people work in the office, how people are there related, someone related to IFOAM in many places. That's I care. And that's, I really think we should not never ever forget. And another point is, so I'm from very aged, very old country. Aging is an issue, but also we learn a lot, but also it sometimes become a burden. And we always have to deal with it. I have been, and I will have to. Maybe, you know, I will be senior, and I have to deal with that in different way. But we talk about the principle, you know, keep the principle. I really think it's very important. So I tell the story now. I was having dinner at the restaurant, and the next table, there was old guys, sorry, but old guys talking about. And one guy said to other old guys, do you know the Nintendo? Do anybody know Nintendo? Yeah. You know, Nintendo, it's now very popular. And the other guy said, yeah, I know, it's they're making card. Yes, Nintendo. How many years they exist? More than 200 years, right? So they know, they changes their product, but they stick in the principle to give the fun to people, some tools to have fun. Now you talk to your kids, Nintendo, it's a game, right? My son just got the Nintendo big game box from his grandfather. And he will not recognize Nintendo as a card company, right? Game company. But that's something we have to, you know, we have to be brave to change our wrapping, stick in that. And what we do might be change. Yuria said maybe certification might be burden. We think about it. We need to be really brave about it. But we will never, ever forget about keep the integrity of organic. But how we can do it? Maybe we can do something new. That's the change, I think. So that might be a global, but I believe in the personal level, very important.
Great, thank you, fantastic. I get 2 points from this. Basically, what you're saying is that small interventions are extremely important. And the multiplier of these things can actually impact the world at a very large level. And the second point you're saying is that while we keep holding on to the integrity, to our principles, we should not be afraid to change, because change is inevitable, right? These are the points that actually, Miyoshi, I understood. And thank you very much for this. Marianne, can we have from you?
I don't know what to add after Miyoshi's. But
don't worry.
I think one of the things I learned from the process I just described, the phases we went through, it's something that's well known in economics. I think in politics, never waste a good crisis. Use the momentum that's there, because if a group of people hadn't done that at that moment, we wouldn't have a national organic organization, for sure. There would have been other initiatives, but sort of out of the crisis that was there, people really felt the need they had to change something, and they started talking with each other, which they hadn't done for a long time. I mean, Biologica was taken for granted. So I was working there. I didn't even realize that I was doing things that people were not aware of. I did it for the good of the sector, I thought. But so never waste a good crisis. I think that's a wise lesson. And to scale it up, it's always difficult. Something that I described on the small countries level, to say how can you scale it up? Because You cannot speak with the whole world. So it has to be these conversations have to go on in little smaller groups that come together and discuss how can we make this change in our region happen? How can we make this change in our sector happen? And what do we need to make it? So if you want, I mean, this discussion of person to person is needed. And like they said, we have this guiding principle, but we need all these discussions on the local level.
Wonderful. That was a nice one, Marianne. I mean, basically what I understand from what you told us is that, one, use the crisis. Yes. Let's use the crisis because that's what funnels change. What I understand from that is that from all chaos comes, what's the opposite of chaos?
Order? In order.
Order. So we have to be able to look at it positively. The way to do it is to have small conversations at every. It's like we don't have to have a mammoth conversation on how to do the change, but we do multiple conversations at different levels and use that to be able to define the change that we are talking about and come to a consensus. If I get it right.
You say it better. Great.
I just repeated, that's why. It always happens. So let's have the last one.
Yeah, I take it from Marianne that you start small, you decentralize. I like decentralization a lot. I like diversification of power, handing power to grassroots. I'm a grassroots activist. But I think if I ask you, we have a very popular slogan, also in the organic sector, widely used. I think it came from my hippie times generation. Think global and act local. And this was a dilemma for me, because here I was globalizing for the organic movement, chatting around the world. And I started to realize this slogan is actually, well, maybe not stupid, but wrong. It doesn't help me. Because how can we think global and not act global, while the big guys from Bayer and BASF act very global? And how can we act local if we don't think? So we have to combine this. We have to think and act globally and locally. And that's why I became a globalizer. And this, why do I tell this? Because this is for me the story of IFOAM. As we all applaud what you say, and I think we all underwrite. But here is this world body. We chat around from all the world. In this climate change crisis, we fly around the world. So there's a contradiction. But still we must know that we need this global connection also to make it happen. And I want to have a little challenge on another very popular slogan. Small is beautiful. Of course small is beautiful, but not automatically. Small can be very ugly. Small can be very wrong. And big can actually be beautiful. I'll give you one example again. I have been in the context of the One World Award when visiting Paul. You remember maybe in the film The Butcher in the hospital, the pigs? I said, I want to see that place where you get your meat. So I went to this farm. I went to a farm, 1,300 sows, raising 30,000 piglets to pork dimensions. I think you all would say, no, this is industrial agriculture. Believe me, it has been the best pig keeping I have seen in my life, and I've seen a lot. The pigs are back in the forest. He planted a forest, and the way he keeps the animals, the way he feeds them, it's organic plus. It's super organic. So let's get out a little bit of our fixations to some things, and let's see it a bit different. So, of course, the majority of pig is wrong, still. But it hasn't to be that way. There can be the beauty of organic. You can have in my vegetable garden has the beauty of organic, and but you can have even on large scale beautiful landscapes. Organic leads to beautiful landscapes, etc. So we should have this thinking and acting global. What makes the difference is the acting. The thinking is a precondition, but if we want to change the world, and to the topic of our session here, of course the action makes the difference. So we act a lot. My conclusion at this point is we have not acted enough. We have not made, in all these 40 years, over 40 years I'm in the organic movement, the situation, the condition of the earth is much worse. We are now close to the collapses. So also we have our success stories. The big challenge is still out there. I put my hope also on a more female, I don't say women, a more female approach, because I grew up with 5 sisters. I think I have quite some female in me. So it's not a matter of biological differences. It's what women stay for, what we think women stay for and do most, and men. Look who's make the war right now in Ukraine. How many women do you see there in the game, and how many men do you see in the game? So yeah, let's globalize. My conclusion.
So maybe we can say feminine energy.
Yes.
Yeah? Let us bring forward this feminine energy into this very masculine world. Wonderful. So this is something spectacular is happening. The spectacular is we are finishing much before time. You know? So we have saved a lot of time. But I would still like to ask you for a single statement. A single statement. I mean, you're welcome not to want to give it, but if you have, and you want to give one single statement to all of us, please do. I mean, the single statement is, you know, like 10 words. Huh? Okay.
Well, can I go a little bit longer? What was I say? Yeah, recently I was driving and my neighbor, and I saw happy farmer. He's a young farmer, which is age of maybe 60 years old, which is very young in Japan. So he got a little tractor and he got a drone, big drone, like this much. And he's gonna spray pesticide. But I see it, I was happy for him that I could tell he is happy, you know, with excitement, new toy for him, you know, new technology. And yeah, I'm not happy that he's spraying, but I was happy for him because I could tell he is happy. He was excited, and that's something we need to bring. Excitement, attractiveness, and be positive, you know. I hear not only our sector, but from people, the old generation, or even organic farmers. I was visiting organic farmers in this summer, and people just talk shit. Depressing. And I listen, but yeah, I know, you know, bullshit's all over the world, you know. I hear you, Julia, we're scaring what's ahead. I'm sorry, my language, but it's another word, it's cow manure, right? Cow manure, we know what to do. We take it, we compost it, make it good soil out of bullshit. That's what we do, because we know how to do it. We know how to make it positive out of negative. And we should be positive, happy people, you know? We're happy.
Yeah, you have this here. The people of this county are joyful people. It's great, huh?
And I think it's important to keep it as very happy and attractive. And I see younger people coming in organic, they don't care. Like they care, they blameless. They just do it happily. And that's how I think we can attract more people. And I do enjoy, I appreciate. And so that's, I think IFOAM should keep it. Not only, sometimes we should be serious and, you know, make a statement, blah, blah, blah. But we should celebrate, we should be out there and happily involving people. And
sure.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate life.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you.
Marianne.
I think it's such a simple statement that But I think we should keep talking to each other, and not trying to convince each other about what should be done in general. But we should be realistic and talking to each other and getting the solutions together. And it asks also, I mean, it's very easy to say, you've done that wrong and you should change that. It's more difficult to say, maybe I should change a little bit in order to improve the whole. And I think we should do that.
Wonderful. Change comes in our own lives, in our personal lives. Let's talk, let's celebrate life, let's be happy. And the last one.
Yeah, again, I try to stick to the topic of the session, how to change the world. Well, I think we don't have to change the world. It's not our task and role to change the world. This is a mega task nobody can fulfill. And there's no need. The world, if it's ruled by nature and laws of nature, it's intact. The world ruled by nature is in harmony. What we have to change, and I'm repetitive, but I bring the originator of this wonderful view, Gandhi, be the change you want to see. That's Gandhi who taught us this. So we have to take our role, and of course we all do it in our work, to bring the change. Let me conclude with an experience we had here in Korea when we had this incredible dinner on the first day at the restaurant on the way to here. I counted, it was about 30 different ingredients on the table. And I love cooking. So let me put as my concluding remark the picture of cooking. We cooking. If we change the world, okay, then let's cook and see that we create a new stew, a new meal on the table. And the ingredients for changing the world and how to do it, that is the question, how, is just what comes to my mind is dedication, is passion, is persistence. There's definitely, it's optimism. You know, pessimism is a feeling, it's not a solution. So for me, pessimism doesn't exist. It's not too late. If it's 5 to 12, well, my watch always continues after 12. Let's not scared with these pictures. So in this meal on the table, of course, there should be a joy. All my time, and probably the greatest gift being in the organic movement was that there was a lot of joy based on friendships, on all the things. And that led to happiness. That's why we are happy. And I have had a slideshow, some of you have been in Adelaide when it was my farewell, where I showed for the first time a slideshow with only faces. And I titled The Faces and Fascination of Organic Culture. And I asked a question at the end, what did all the pictures have in common? I showed organic farmers from all over the world, which I've collected in my long time in IFOAM. They were all smiling. They were all happy. And if we take this message, and if we take it as our obligation to help that farmers are happy again, that the farmers are happy, the next generation is happy to be a farmer, then we do the right thing. So, and celebration. Let's celebrate. I mean, it's the 50th anniversary, so my concluding remark has to address the anniversary. In fact, I'm so happy that we finally found a place where at least some of us can come together. Regretful, we have 7 living presidents of IFOAM, not one is here. So we are not complete here, but we have them all in our heart. And there's a slogan I grew up with, actually my father grew up with and passed it on to me. In Germany, it's actually from the Jungle Book. It says, keine Feier ohne Geier. Now this is a rhyme I cannot translate into English. So it's, but I have a translation. It would sound the same, like no party without Hardy. So, so let's celebrate, let's be proud of what we have achieved. And with this energy, we will continue with happiness and joy to make the world a better one.
I shall not even try to summarize that. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hope to meet you again.
At the party, at the party.
And let's have a chat.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think we got quite inspired with these last two sessions, and I like Miyoshi. Let's take all the chaos, all the frustration, the fears to the compost pile. Let's get good soil, and then we get all the fruits and vegetables to make that dish we want all to eat and have fun. So I would like to invite now to the stage Dr. Khaled Sassis from the Center of Technique of Agriculture Biologique. Sorry for my bad French. He has a very nice invitation for us. So please clap your hands. Let's welcome him. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our organic family is better. As a Tunisian and representative of the competent authority of the Tunisian Ministry of Agriculture, it gives me great pleasure to invite you to the Organic World Congress, which will be held in 2024 in Tunisia. The theme of this edition is "With Africa on the Move Towards a Global Organic Growth," an appropriate theme that was proposed with commitments from African partners. I would like to draw your attention that the holding of this Congress on the African continent, and more precisely in Tunisia, as the leading African organic country, is an important meeting to promote the development of African organic agriculture and its synergy with the global organic movement. Indeed, the content of the Congress and its several related activities, such as pre-conferences, General Assembly, side events, organic exhibition, etc., constitute an opportunity for exchanges, cooperation, and collaborations between the African partners on the one hand and international bodies and institutions on the other. With organic agriculture, the model of sustainable and fair development, the IFOAM 2024 Organic World Congress in Tunisia would give participants from around the world visibility on the contribution and potential of African organic agriculture. We are expecting you in large numbers and hope that this Congress will allow us as agroecologist ambassadors to have a healthy world. Welcome to all our distinguished guests to the Tunisian organic land. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. So I think we need to mark our calendar, 2024. Let's bring the organic global movement to Africa. Let's learn from your experience and get inspired. So once again, let's clap for Dr. the formalities, Khaled Sassid, and for the Organic Tunisian movement. So now, housekeeping rules. We have a break now, and we will be meeting back again for more work. Now we will get our hands dirty and our brains, we will train them a little bit. So we meet here 10:50, yes, 10 to 11. So grab your coffees. Well, and of course, we need always a little bit more of inspiration. So for the last moment of inspiration, I would like to pass you a video from the youth around the world working in organics and changing the world.
I like organic farming because I can see and plant my own good food, and I know it's healthy because I did not add chemicals into it, and it's healthy for my body.
I like organic farming because I could feed my plants, and I like growing them. and I like to feed them to get healthier and healthier so I could get healthier too to eat them.
땅을 살리고 생명을 살리는 이 길이 우리 인류가 살아남는 유일한 길이라는 사실을 우리 모두가 깨닫는 그날까지 제 맡은 바 책임을 다해 나갈 각오입니다.
I decided to be an organic farmer because I believe this job is the most important work in the world. We have different kinds of challenges, but I think the biggest one is to have technology to practice organic farming in small scale and to have seeds to protect the biodiversity.
Et pour moi, le bio, c'est l'avenir. Et en tant que comme défi, pour nous les jeunes, je pense que nous devons beaucoup plus allier innovation à l'agriculture biologique pour diminuer la pénibilité du travail.
As a beekeeper, I am trying to maintain the rich forest around my bee site because it's all connected: forestry, agriculture, and fishery.
Pour nous, l'objectif, c'est d'amener les producteurs vers les pratiques agricoles qui protègent l'environnement, c'est-à-dire la santé des sols, animaux, humains, et aussi d'amener les jeunes entrepreneurs dans le secteur agricole au Togo vers un réseau nasional qui œuvre pour le développement de l'industrie biologique.
Dengan demikian, peran pemuda di dunia pertanian organik sangat diperlukan, yang mana kehadiran para pemuda ini akan membawa pertanian organik menjadi sebuah solusi, menjadi masa depan bagi bangsa ini dan juga bangsa yang lain, yang mana kita
as the younger generation can bring about organic revolution with our energy, enthusiasm, and our workforce for the water we drink, the air we breathe, and for the food the earth has provided us. It is about time we give back to the world and be kinder to the environment and go organic.
I believe that organic farmers should be paid a fair price for their organic produce and their organic products. Through the simple decision of choosing to farm organically, these farmers have taken on the responsibility of tackling climate change, of reducing the impact on the environment, and also making a decision for our own health to provide healthier food for our everyday living.
Alors pour moi, le bio, c'est la vie, et qui dit la vie, c'est un monde meilleur. Et parmi tant d'autres, les défis que je peux en tout cas relever, c'est surtout aussi la question de la professionnalisation du secteur bio, afin de susciter une forte adhésion des jeunes dans la dynamique biologique au niveau international.
I think the role of the youth on organic agriculture movement, like in the other social and political movements, is to bring in new ideas and perspective to face the new society moments.
Dan pesan saya bagi para pemuda, para pelaku pertanian organik yang sudah berkecimpung di dunia pertanian organik, jangan menyerah pada setiap tantangan yang kita hadapi, karena kita punya keyakinan bersama bahwa pertanian organik yang merupakan pertanian berkelanjutan ini adalah solusi masa depan bangsa ini.
There are so many things we can start from our generation for the future. So let's be the change. Go organic.
My message to the youth is, if you want to work with that and stay in the farm, do it. You don't need to go to the city to be someone. Believe in yourself. I really believe in the global network because we need to be together. Like this, we are more powerful, we change experience, and we grow together.
This is where YOGM can be a platform to connect us with organic enthusiasts from around the globe, to share and exchange ideas, and bring about organic movement.
들이 가고자 하는 유기농의 길은 결코 쉽지 않은 길입니다. 하지만 그 어려운 길을 가고자 하는 여러분들이 있기에 우리의 미래는 한 줄기 희망이 있다고 생각합니다. 전 세계 청년 유기농업인 여러분, 고맙습니다. 여러분들 언제까지나 응원하겠습니다.
So, don't give up, and the next generations. So, the next generation, as we can give up, and we have a lot of challenges, as Deja said, we'll read now the declaration of the conference that we had all worked on the last 3 days. So I would like to invite to the stage Alejandro from Peru, Thales from Brazil, Ada from China, Lanu from India, and Sarah from the UK. So please, give them a warm welcome.
Organic agriculture is an important pathway to address the deeply intertwined global crisis of climate change, nutrition security, health, loss of biodiversity, soil degradation, and poverty in the farm communities.
Organics for all means growing food in a way that nourishes soils and animals, preserves biodiversity, and tackles climate change. It means shaping a food system that pays all those in the organic value chain fairly: farmers, farm workers, processors, traders, transport industries, chefs and cooks, and consumers, fair prices and wages, and gives everyone access to organic knowledge and organic and safe food.
These 10 actions can pave the way for good, clean, and fair organic food and farming for all. Number 1, revive the concept of holistic organic agriculture. Make organic farming the driving force to build resilient ecoregions and communities. Number 2, value indigenous people's ways of knowing and being, and engage to deepen the common understanding of organic agriculture, culture, and lifestyle.
Number 3, facilitate access to land by creating clearing houses for interested land leases and potential leases, encouraging establishment of organic to feed local populations. Number 4, increase capacity building and education at all levels, youth to postgrad and mentorship programs to empower organizations and individuals to drive organic transition.
Number 5, build on knowledge and know-how of farmers and other stakeholders and expand organic entrepreneurship by providing comprehensive training, facilitating access to context-adapted information, and opportunities to exchange with peers. Number 6, actively use the current shifts in financial regulations that advance environmental, social, and governance investing criteria to motivate investments in organic agriculture, processing, services, and trade.
Number 7, develop ambitious organic policy at the national and local level with goals, investments, and action to upscale organic farming and research and accelerate organic market development, including organic public procurement. Number 8, utilize organic agriculture actively in our holistic policy solution to crisis in climate change, biodiversity loss, and food security, and shift public subsidies to sustainable practices.
Number 9, coordinate and harmonize all policies for organic throughout all ministries, agencies, and departments at all levels of government. Number 10, mobilize with market actors to actively promote the value of organic products, develop strong and fair value chains, and make healthy organic food and products available for all.
To accelerate this, IFOAM Organics International will support, engage, and inspire governments, organisational allies, and the business sector, as well as strengthen our member organisations as agents of change in the fields, supply chains, policy, and marketplace.
Thank you very much. So, we are envisioning a bright future, a lot of work to be done, and we will support it. And once again, let's clap again for the organic youth leading the way. So now I would like to invite the president of IFOAM Asia, Matthew Zhou, to come to the stage. He will share some words of wisdoms and a closing message before we go for wrap up of the conference. So Matthew, please come. Let's welcome him.
This is a very different feeling standing here. Yeah. Yeah, but at the end of this, the last few days, I think some people we can remember, some people we can acknowledge, but I think as a group, each one of you, a huge thanks just to be here. I think to be part of this community, I think the effort that most people have put to come in here, to fly out, to go through the tests at the airport. I think you should give each yourselves a hand. Yeah. I think there are a few people that we need to really thank and to appreciate for being here and for making the effort to ensure that this conference comes off. Would like to thank ISOFAR. I think they were there at the first conference. They were part of that, and for Gerald to make an effort that this second one also, this expo, comes off, and to work together with the IFOAM Asia team to make that happen. A huge thanks to all of them. Yeah. There is a huge group of people in IFOAM International. I can take names of a few of them, but I think we will never cover the range of people. We are celebrating 50 years. And we will always miss out a few names if we try and cover all of them in the last 50 years. People who've put in their heart, people who put in their soul to make this organic movement grow. But there are a few here that I would like to acknowledge. We as IFOAM Asia and as a community of organic people who are here. We would like to acknowledge two people who were there in the previous board. Andre, a huge thank you to you for being here and for being there for the organic movement over the last few years, the effort that you have made. Roberto, thank you so much for making an effort to be here. Yeah? There are a few pioneers here. Yeah? Zizi has been there as part of IFOAM Organic Asia. A huge thank you. I think him and Jennifer, when IFOAM Asia sort of rebirthed itself, they were the pillars on which the movement has grown in Asia, and I just would like to appreciate that so much. We have Hardy here. From what I have heard, you, Bob Quinn, thank you so much. I think what you shared yesterday has been an inspiration for many people who've come up and said what you shared inspires them to continue the work that you are doing. Bernard, where's that? Yeah. I mean, I can just keep on reading names, but Karen, you. And the entire present IFOAM board, I think, needs a huge hand for the way over the last few years, the tough times, they've carried IFOAM on their shoulders. So a huge shout out to them. I think Julia spoke about the young people, yeah, and I think all the young people who've been part of this movement, who are in this transition space, taking over from many of the pioneers of the organic movement. 50 years have passed, and there is a time of transition happening now. A huge support and encouragement to each one of them. We've seen a few of them in the video, but I think there are so many all over the world who are making each and every one of them making an effort to keep this movement going forward. I would like to express my thanks and encouragement that we are there for whatever effort they're making. And so a big thank you to all of them. Yeah. Last but not the least, I think Chungbuk Province, Goesan County, the kind of time, money, effort that they have put into this conference, and not only it's just these last few days, but continuing over the last few years, they've stood solidly behind IFOAM Asia and the kind of effort that has gone on. No words will be able to express the thanks to them, because many of the times we've met each other just because of these conferences, these meetings. And that facilitation, I think, we will never be able to repay the kind of effort. The present governor, he's made a huge effort to support this organic movement, and so a huge thanks to him too. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. If I have missed out anybody, apologies, but thank you so much to each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. So we are coming to an end, so it's my honor to now call to the stage our marvelous president, Karen Mapusua. So please, let's welcome her. And our also marvelous president from ISOFAR, Gerald Raman. So please join us in the stage so for a wrap-up.
Yeah, maybe on this side. I think. Gerald, do you want to go first? He's going somewhere.
And now? That's fine. So I start. Thank you very much to give me the opportunity to doing some closing remarks here in regard of the science part of this conference here together with IFOAM. Let me make first statement that we had here 5 workshops, and we are all prepared from the 5 workshops that they can express final conclusions to the audience here. But as I have understood, Julia, correct me, we can't present it here because we have no time. Can we do?
I think we do have time, if that was what you all prepared, because we don't want to...
Yeah, we want to make it short, yep. But I think it's respectful to all the chairs of the workshops that they do it. So I would like, probably it's possible that we have them on here as a stage. If it's possible, I start with some sentences so that they can come up. One, if you could come here for novel foods. If it's Vayudi, you coming here for food systems. That we have Reza here for climate smart agriculture. Sabine, Sabine. Yeah, you decided. Yeah, Sabine come in front. Then we have here the group from Tanvir couldn't do it. So the group from Scaling Up. Where's Scaling Up? Scaling Up. Which one will come from Scaling Up? All right. And yeah, that's good. Make the decisions now as all independencies. And we have here the group of research needs for going next steps. That is Amber, or Amber, you come up? Yeah, we need a gender balance here, at least 2. Yeah. Yeah, fine. All right. So I will do very short sentences, like do it as a SWOT. SWOT is staying for strength. I thank a lot the Chungbuk government that they made it possible for us as poor scientists that we can gather. And when we think ahead, when we stay in front of farmers and show next pathways, not beside, not behind farmers. And to show this, we need personal discussion. That was possible, and I thank a lot the Chumbuck province that we had this opportunity after 2 years to make a global event again with the support and with the location and with this marvelous, really good hospitality they gave us. Thanks a lot to them. Coming to the weaknesses, so we, as Germans, we always say both sides of a matter. Weaknesses where we were wondering why so few Koreans took part. That is a deficit. So when we are here, we are invited. That is when you make a party and you are not at home when the guests are coming. So we would like to understand what was the hindrance, and that is a weak part when we are at a place and we have no real connection to the real world. So I was happy that at least we had an excursion yesterday. Thanks, Jennifer, that you made it all possible. But that is clear what we identified as a weakness. Opportunities. When I talk about opportunities first, very clear. We are happy that we are independent. We are not member of IFOAM, but we are part of the organic movement as scientists, independent. We want to stay on that. We work with farmers, we work with entrepreneurs, we work with consumers. We are on the basis of your actions, and at least without science, you have difficulties to find future solutions. What you have here shown as a young youth of IFOAM, that are all brave future ideas, but see the world. The world is going different, going down, unfair, polluted, unsecurity, unfree. So that is really a challenge, and without science, it's impossible to do it. So this is the opportunities. Keep us independent, because then we have a good voice even for skeptical groups. As soon as we are part of the movement, part of IFOAM, we lost our voice and strength. And then, of course, the threat that we have lost the opportunity to touch the public, that we do not touch the citizens, that we only talk and have no impact. And that is not even a scientific impact. That is even for the movement. A lot of social media or websites or papers, big books, it is all unimportant as long as we does not have touched the heart of the consumers, the public, and overall the people. Without them, we have no chance to have our ideas a future. So for that, we need to work together, and that's my SWOT answer. And now I would like to ask these 5 workshop chairs to come. Where they are? Yeah, Vayudi, come on. I'm staying here alone. Amber, come on. You're preparing or what? Yeah. Vayudi, now it's for you.
Okay, thank you, Gero. I would like to give a highlight of our discussion in the session of the sustainable organic food system, that we have been discussing about the macronutrients and essential macronutrients that may be scarce in some places, and this is the resources, and this is linked to the deficiency for the human. And then as we know that we always talking about the productions, but we forgot that the resources is not coming back to the soil, and then human is playing important roles to bring that resources again back to the soil. And the other things that we have discussing in the session is about the logistic, the transportation of the product, and also the transportation of the resources. So this is also our main topic in the discussions. And the last thing that we are discussing about how we can encourage not only productions, but most of the people will consume it, and also how we deal with the IoT, Internet of Things, that make it all the simples and transparent, that all the data will get to the consumers and then make it aware. Maybe that's our highlight for the session. Maybe we will have this for the position and papers in later on. Thank you.
I am just presenting the gist of scaling up session. We have 12 presentations wherein we have discussed very important issues like soil health, how we can manage the organic waste, then how climate is changing and affecting our ecosystems, then how these biopesticides are useful for controlling different type of insect, pest, and disease. Likewise, there were so many technologies, innovative technologies. So we feel that all these technologies have the potential to be adopted in similar type of ecological situations in different countries. And by sharing these technologies, at least the concept can be replicated in those areas and we can benefit from those concepts. Then third thing, we feel that these technologies, they have very much potential, and this should be disseminated through a digital platform that can be created by IFOAM or IFOAM. So we can just upload all those innovative technologies, and the farmers and any interested person can have an access for those. We also feel that there is a need to capacity building for the scientists, technicians, particularly in the analytical aspects of the soil, plant, water, then pesticides, so that at least they have better results to communicate with the farmers. So these are the gist of our session. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, I'm actually representing Gerald too. Okay. All right. No. So I try to simplify what we've actually achieved. So first of all, I think it's completely different than the usual conference because we can talk freely. All right, we can interrupt whenever we want, and we will have a deeper understanding within our research group, even though we only have like 4 to 5 of us, all right? So I would like to conclude my session, which is the novel food system. And to make it easier, we have found that in summary, the outcome of our section is actually innovative food production and more innovative knowledge transfer. Okay, let me explain a bit. All right, so we noticed that food production should keep being innovative every year. All right, we need to find new food or innovative food yearly. As an example, I produce food from a reactor. All right. My friend produced food using human urine, and some of it using earthworms. So whatever works, whatever can produce protein biomass, it works. It is a clean protein, it works, all right? And secondly, we noticed that knowledge transfer, all right? We've been using fancy words like, I would say, heterotrophic. All right, some says organic is a fancy word. Could work in Europe, but it doesn't work in Asia because of a cultural reason. So our target is probably we need to become innovative in terms of knowledge transfer towards the farmers. All right, so we need to keep innovative in terms of food production and delivering the knowledge to the farmers. And third, we noticed that waste, okay, agriculture waste is the new goal, all right? Wherever we go, we interested on the waste, not the crops, all right? Especially Gerald's group, they went to Uganda, and the people basically confused why Gerald took the waste, not the crops, all right? So we, from our groups, each one of us utilized waste and turned the waste to money or food. That's all from me. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, our session was 2 combined. We had, we were tackling closing the yield gap in between organic and conventional, and we also addressed research needs. The yield gap question is specifically on increasing productivity of organic, whereas research needs focused more on increasing the organic production more broadly, and also the needs for improving research or increasing research in organic. I was just preparing before I came up here because I don't think I'm going to do justice to report back on the yield gap. But one thing that comes to my mind that stood out that we talked a lot about is whether we should close the yield gap and what that would look like. We discussed that maybe comparing conventional to organic is not the right comparison. It's a little bit like apples to oranges as far as the systems go, and instead maybe we should look at what is the attainable production within organic and the actual, and think about how to increase the actual to the attainable. And if we are trying to match conventional yields, then we will likely have to compromise our organic principles to get there. So if that is something that we want to do, then we may need to consider how to redefine organic or make exceptions. For the research needs, we had a lot of parallels in conclusions of needs between these two sessions, and one of them was that we do need to have considerations, socioeconomic considerations that are regionally based. We need to understand the differences in each region, the results, the solutions, the problems and the solutions will all be context dependent. So we do still need a lot of research that is very applied, that helps address problems on the farm, that is context dependent. We talked about ways to increase the limited resources that are available to research right now, and this could be by increasing knowledge sharing. I think it is, for me personally, extremely special that I am here to learn from other scientists across the world and find where work is already being done and join to collaborate. So we talked about things that are needed to facilitate this knowledge sharing for researchers globally, including open access publications and perhaps convening topical workshops once we can figure out where all the researchers are and what they're doing. I think I'll leave it at that. I know I'm missing so much, but I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm reporting from the workshop on how to make organic farming climate smart. We had a discussion whether climate smart is the right word or not. So we were really considering the contribution of organic farming to climate change adaptation as well as to greenhouse gas emissions. And we had very lively discussions. Just to illustrate that for you, that was why we missed the bus for lunch today. So, and we were a rather big group with about 11 people with very, very different contributions from all over the world, so from the global south and the global north. Also showing very different approaches and challenges on how to make organic farming, I just say now climate smart, with all the discussions we might have on that one when we go for our publication. And it also came out in the discussion that in many aspects the needs to make to talk about energy use, to talk about fossil fuel use, to talk about or to reduce the fossil fuels, this is nowhere really addressed in the regulations and in the standards. Historically, it was not needed, that's why it's not there. That doesn't mean that that should be included, but we should think about concepts to integrate in the development of farms and of organic enterprises, a pathway to reduce fuel use and a pathway also maybe to adapt to climate change in a given area. So that was one of our conclusions at that point. Then we were also looking at different perspectives of global north and global south, and we found that there is really different perspectives and different needs, and we would need more dialogue on that to come forward more in this whole aspect of climate change mitigation and adaptation. Then we, of course, also discussed on the benefits of organic farming in that regard, and we found quite a few, of course, because they are there inherent in the practices. But nevertheless, we need to go further forward on a food system level, and the system part is very important here. Almost everybody of us addressed that in the presentation, that we have to look at the system. And in that context, we also need, of course, the consumers, or not the consumers, but maybe better the civil society, as well as the farmers and the processors, to really come forward with a more climate-friendly system, so to say. And then we very much addressed also what you have been saying, Amber, that we need contextualization on a local level that also really includes indigenous knowledge and culture. And I hope I have not forgotten anything, so I'm looking no more contributions. So.
Oh, thanks, guys. So that is, Karen, that was a mistake that you gave me the micro first. No? Of course. So we like to be here. We had happy, nice workshops. I thank Jennifer very much about all the support we got from her and her team. And I have the 5th heart from Oktoberfest for you, because always she got it and then she lays it somewhere away. So that is fine that we got this really good opportunity. So we will continue with our work. We will see us in Tunisia with ISOFA contribution. We will stay on workshops. It was the best way for good discussions. Forget the conferences. Just blah, blah with no discussions. We have enough in our life. So thanks a lot. Karen, now it's your stage. Thanks.
Oh, you can leave it here. That's fine.
Oh, I know.
There's microphones everywhere. Okay, I don't need all the microphones. I'll just use this one because then I can look at my iPad. Wow, we're at the end. And one of the things that was on the agenda was to sum up the conference, which is extremely difficult. I attempted to take some notes and capture some ideas as we went through the last couple of days. Then when I looked at it last night, I thought that there is no way to do that in 3 minutes. It's impossible. But then I thought, well, we've talked a little bit over the last couple of days about stepping out of our comfort zone. So I thought I would step out of my comfort zone and do performance poetry, which I've never done before in my life. And good thing about performance poetry, doesn't have to rhyme, doesn't particularly have to make sense. It's just about how you convey the message. So it was me or it was Sarah dancing. So I thought maybe that one later. Here we go. For 50 years, 15 years ahead, seeds planted, we see now the harvest. A few coins on the table, vision of a few, the passion of many. Doors opened by pioneers, remembered, held close like a cloak on our shoulders. Continuing the legacy of millennia, food growers, seed savers, custodians of the earth. Walk through the open door. Listen to the heart for the future you want. Cognition, emotion, shine a light on the way. Agriculture, an existential threat, beware even industrialization of organic. We need and lead a revolution where everybody wins, no rest, even if all you do is eat organic. With farmers together around the globe, exemplifying service, from little things, big things grow. Build bridges, unite in common purpose, uplift each other, never doubt the power of a few. The silent spring bubbles anew. Generations dialogue, passing of the baton. Never, never give up. Next generation walk through the open door. We have a food and farming system built on values. Stand on these unshakable. Go forward, look outside, look up. Navigate by the stars. Challenges remain, cost and price do matter. The movement, the market, too far apart. Learn the language of power brokers and build alliances from the ground up. Science must listen to farmers, indigenous people, describe and communicate to scale organic. Stay 15 years ahead. Walking through the open door, we know we are still small. Access is not even. Fairness. Fairness needs to be strengthened. Organic for all is needed. Farmers remain the centre. And although a niche, we have shifted the dial. Claims on supermarket shelves tell the story best. Natural, eco, green. New technologies challenge us. How to stay 15 years ahead. History brings strength and baggage, some things better left behind. Climate legacy, the monster of certification. What about historical legacy? We need to reflect and learn to grow. But how? How? Get out of your comfort zone. Speak to people who are not yet on the arc. A market-driven success story? What about a lost organic ideal? Where is the organic lifestyle? The food system, not the food production system, is the answer we seek. Organic is not outside of us, it is not the other, it's personal. Challenges are real, fencing, wild pigs, access to land, time, never enough time. Online communication isolates, we need connection face to face, farm to farm. Fear, it's overwhelming. And we waste time on politics or debate or competition. There is not enough time. Research for the future we want. Planetary health diet, half a plate of veggies. What does that mean? Rethinking grassland, vegan food from grassland herbs and nuts, enough or not? Increase biodiversity, increase opportunity. Microbiome research, cooperation between micro and macro organisms, a cycle of synergies, staying 15 years ahead. IFOAM's ecosystem, rich and deep, regional bodies, young, old, reborn, renewed, sharing knowledge, inspiration, challenges, stimulating national actions, geographic, cultural and political ties, different landscapes, different priorities, different needs. No one size fits all. All success looks different everywhere, but coming together across the globe still matters. A bundle of sticks is harder to break. Holding the principles very high, gather more, share more, IFOAM, the meeting place of organic. Sector platforms keeping it real, seeds, livestock, research, farmers, interlinked, central, and needing support. Few resources stretched thin. Wealth of passion, experience, knowledge, skill, ever responsive to changing needs, new challenges every day, adapting, learning, keeping us 15 years ahead. We have one aim, organic agriculture for all, making change. We won't be invited to act, just act. Principles are the core, diversity and opportunity. Diversity is not division. Economy is important, farmers must prosper, ecology must prosper. Networking, there are many working to the same goal. Find them, be open, talk. We need each other. The paradigm shift is needed. Linear economic growth, a big red flag. Dissolve cultural constraints, empower women for the change we need. Women walk through the open door. Feminine energy to the fore. Stay 15 years ahead. Can't change the world if you can't change yourself. Reflect, learn, adapt. Keep our core package. Keep our core, change our packaging. One person can make a difference for good or bad. Everything starts with you. Start small, build knowledge. Knowledge is power. Am I empowering others? You? My neighbour? Be bold, be brave, use the multi-layered crisis all around us. Take the rubbish to the compost pile. Walk through the open door. Always 15 years ahead. But are we still? Let's be 15 years ahead. Let's celebrate 50 years. Let's celebrate life. Let's dance through the open door. Organics for all. Organics for all. Okay. Thank you, everyone. That was my first and last performance poetry, so that was... yeah. Yeah, like I said, I just tried to gather all the wisdom that came out of the room, and there were many gems there that I think are quotable for many years to come from everyone in the room. So thank you all for your contributions. And now I have to do the final thank yous. Firstly, thank you to Matthew for saying so many of the thank yous. That was really great. But there really are a lot of people to thank for this. It's such a valued opportunity to come together after the last couple of years, and it's starting to seem like it was a long time ago, but it wasn't. It wasn't that long ago where this would not have been possible at all. And I'd like to start with Goesan County and Chungbok Province for the support not only for this conference, but over many years. The relationship and the work done with IFOAM Asia and Algoa does not only benefit Asia, it benefits the whole organic movement worldwide. And for that, I really give you my sincere thanks to both of those governments. The organic farmers of this region have really opened their hearts to us as well, often feed us while we're here, and I'd like to acknowledge them and their role. There is no organic without the farmers at the core. So thank you very much to the organic farmers of Goesan. The IFOAM Asia team, the staff, the volunteers under the leadership of Matthew, and of course our wonderful and tireless Jennifer. You've worked so hard to get us here. All the logistics, the ever-changing COVID requirements, the visa challenges, to name a few. And it's like herding cats, trying to get us on buses and off buses, the right buses at the right time. The patience is endless, and we thank you all for that. And I'm not sure that if everyone recognises, but they haven't only been organising this conference and ISOFAR and the Expo. There's this other series of conferences that run over the next couple of weeks. So the effort behind this to be able to engage with the organic movement on so many different levels and so many different ways is just extraordinary. Our team from the IFOAM Organic International Office, Neve, Alejandro, and especially Patrick, who worked really hard with Jennifer on the program. Patrick, I think, gets a special award because he didn't only just, tell us to smile a lot, he also had to shoulder in with all the photographers on the opening day, which was not easy. If you've ever seen a pack of photographers in Korea, it's quite amazing. So thank you all for your work in pulling this together and engaging in the conference with all of us as well. And of course, everyone in the room battling your jet lag and contributing your experience and your passion to the program. There would be no conference and there would be no IFOAM without its membership. And the richness of what you bring from your day-to-day life is invaluable. So thank you all for that. Vandana Shiva said a couple of days ago, and I thought this was really relevant, in the seeds is the ultimate freedom. For seeds, by their innate nature, regenerate life as celebration. Which corporations today want to destroy and capture the very essence of life by turning seeds sterile and proprietary products? We need to live the life like seeds, as seeds which are exhaustless. We can learn from seeds' generosity, to go beyond extractivism, to be away from greed. Planned thinking is the need of our times. In a time of alienation, in a time of displacement, in a time of not knowing who we are, the plants teach us about rootedness, to regenerate, to revive, and reclaim life. They can give us hope in a period of hopelessness. Plants can teach us how to live again. I thought that was so relevant to many of the discussions that we've had in the last couple of days. Just in closing, I'd like to share that we received a message of greetings from IFOAM's first female president, who served on the World Board from 1994 to 2000 and as president from 98 to 2000, Linda Bullard from the US. She sent a wonderful letter, which we don't have time to read all of, but I'm hoping we can find a way to share it with you all. It was really rich. But I just want to share one paragraph from her letter in closing. The challenges which face the current generation of organic farmers and producers will be infinitely more formidable than those we faced in the 90s, and those were already hard enough. I wish you all the discernment, courage, energy, and resilience necessary to adapt to the changing world in which you find yourselves, integrating the work of those who have gone before to continue blazing the beautiful, healthy, and hopeful organic trail. Stay grounded.